Hi, this is Kimberly. Just a short little intro for this video. I really like Brian Entin from NewsNation. You can probably tell because I do a lot of his stuff, but this is a little bit of what he did tonight, and I've cut out the breaks in between while he's reading questions on the live that he did on Twitter, cutting out those pauses so it goes quicker. But I actually am working on something that's a little bit bigger, and I'll have that for you within a couple of days, I would say. But I've been quite busy taking care of grandchildren. I don't know if I've probably mentioned it, but it's been off and on for the past couple of years. Our two grandchildren and my daughter are living here with us right now, and she works a lot, but still 3 adults can't keep up with 2 grandchildren. We're all worn out at the end of the day, and they're still bouncing off the walls and shit. Then the hollering starts. The day begins and ends with hollering and crying, but generally we're a happy family other than that. I'll talk to you guys very soon. I will have a much longer intro in the next video, I promise. Assuming Papa and I can stop our hollering and crying. Much love and peace. Thank you for listening and watching.
So we're looking for other stuff in the area where Brian Laundrie's remains were. My mom just said that she found an orange spray. It's like orange spray paint. Mom, how did you get through here? There's rattlesnakes in here. There's a water bottle right here. Whoa, I just found something. Oh my God. Okay. I found something really, this is, I think, a water bottle. It looks, I don't know, it could be, hold on. I'm not supposed to touch it, but be careful. I can't touch it, but it says, it's like Seattle, Washington.
So many people don't understand how there was this 5-week search and then all of a sudden the Laundries go out at 7 a.m. and less than an hour later, personal items found and then the remains. Are you looking into that? Is that strange to you?
This case from the onset has been odd. We've said odd over and over again. So it almost seems par for the course in this, unfortunately. I think it is a coincidence. That's my belief, wholeheartedly.
Do you think the parents knew that Brian may have gone out there to commit suicide? Do you have any information that they've known that all along?
I think that that's been on the table from the beginning. I think that that is certainly a possibility.
Was Brian Laundrie followed by police to the reserve?
No. Our intention was to keep an eye on Brian, and clearly him going out there, we missed him going out there.
So he left in the Mustang and no one knew that he left in the Mustang?
That's correct.
I mean, isn't it, we've been outside the house, I mean, was there just no one sitting outside the house watching? I mean, did someone like fall asleep?
Yeah.
I mean, how do you, it's not like he snuck out the back if he left out in the front in the Mustang.
Well, again, he wasn't wanted. There's certain things you can do with surveillance and intelligence when you're at a certain point in an investigation, when there's certain charges, where there's these types of things. It just, we weren't there at that point in the case.
Cause of death for Brian Laundrie, will we ever know based on the condition of the remains?
I think so. I think that that'll be something that they piece together. There was bones scattered around, so I think you have to put all that back together and then work on those details.
Do you know if there was a gun found?
I have no permissions to reveal anything other than what's been said as far as what was found there at that location.
What is the status of the notebook?
That's kind of outside of my purview here at the Northport Police Department. Certainly the FBI has that. They will utilize every tool that they have to make sure that it's handled with care. It was wet, and certainly making sure that's dried out and been able to go through will be very important.
Do you know if is anything in it legible at this point? Do you know?
I believe that there are some things that can be revealed from that. I'm not privy to exactly what's in there.
I know that Northport PD has really been under the microscope, and a lot of people are upset. The Brian Laundrie disappeared. The search didn't result in anything. Do you think mistakes were made? Is Northport PD owning some of this?
Sure. I don't know that any investigation works 100% like you want it to, 100% perfectly. What I'll say is that we were the ones doing everything in our power to get answers on this. This was not, if mistakes were made, there's human error involved with every investigation. It certainly wasn't from a lack of taking it seriously or hustle or knowledge. It was just sometimes things happen.
You have now learned that they've got cameras set up outside the Laundrie home. Police do.
Yeah, we've known this for quite some time, that there are these hidden cameras around the house. We discovered it close to a month ago, but obviously chose not to report it because no one knew where Brian Laundrie was at that point. We didn't want to interfere with the investigation. We know of at least two. There was one behind the house put in a neighbor's yard. There's another camera that was actually hid in a dumpster. We're told that at least some of the cameras did go up before Brian Laundrie disappeared.
And they're not saying yet what those cameras reveal. Brian Entin, live for us in Northport, Florida.
Stephen Bertolino, the attorney for the Laundrie family. And Mr. Bertolino, the clip that we played is a full minute long, but the person who actually conducted the interview is Brian Entin. And he has the full characterization of what the Northport police told him for 15 minutes during that interview. So I'd like to turn it over to Brian Entin to tell you exactly what they told him. Brian, Mr. Bertolino's on with the two of us.
Hi, Ashley. Hi, Mr. Bertolino. I've been in touch with Mr. Bertolino for the last 5 or 6 weeks. Basically, Josh Taylor with Northport Police has said that the way he has phrased it, that they are at the same table, sitting at the same table every day as the FBI, sharing information, constant communication with each other. And I was thinking back to that week when the police chief had that press conference. On that Thursday, the police chief said that he knew where Brian Laundrie was. But it wasn't just that Thursday. Almost every day when I interviewed Josh Taylor, I would ask him, do you know where Brian Laundrie is? And he would say, yes, we know where he is. So I was just listening to your conversation between the two of you, and it's just those interviews we did, and not just us, but many outlets were doing them with the police. They were on TV every night, and it's just hard to imagine that the FBI was also watching this and had this information from Mr. Bertolino, but wasn't sharing it with Northport PD.
Good evening, Brian. How are you?
Good. Nice to hear your voice, Mr. Bertolino.
Pleasure. I wasn't sure if it was my turn. And Brian, I concur. It would be hard to believe that, right? So 2 days ago, I had a conversation with somebody in the Northport PD to clear the air on this one as well. And I offered to put myself on speaker so that brass could hear it, so that the upper echelons could hear it, that I wasn't trying to, quote, put the Northport PD under the bus when I brought this up. They told me in no uncertain terms that they had no idea that the FBI knew about this. They were completely shocked on Friday to learn that Brian wasn't in the house. So Brian, everything you say makes sense. Absolutely everything you say makes sense. But I will tell you, it is not my responsibility to communicate between the FBI and Northport PD. I can tell you once again, as sure as I'm sitting here talking on this screen, the FBI confirmed in my office again today at 2:15, this is a non-issue for them. They have it documented that Brian was reported missing by me to them on Monday evening. My recollection was it was either Monday evening conversation or a Tuesday morning conversation, but I know that I reported it on day one. That being said, Ashleigh, you told me you would replay that clip. What you chose to do was bring Brian Entin in. I would ask you respectfully, let's play the clip. Let's hear, not from Brian, let's hear from Josh Taylor once again. I can spare the minute. Let's play it.
Well,
we've
had 40 with you, but the control room is about to play it. So control room, fire away. Let's roll.
I don't know. Let's listen to
Mr. Bertolino says that he called and reported Brian missing sooner than Friday, and that it was just the official report filed on Friday. Is that true?
I can tell you that the Northport Police Department, that when we got the call on Friday that he was being reported missing, was news to us. I was in the room myself. It was a very surprising moment. I can say that with 100% certainty. Whatever he may have said in passing, you know, this is a situation where we're trying to, you know, they were uncooperative on Saturday, not revealing any details. We've got a missing young lady. Really, their credibility was, you know, what's going on there. If I'm understanding him correctly, he says that he may have said something to someone in the FBI. I don't know. I don't know if that's true. What I know is that none of our actions and what we've said show that that's a possibility at all.
Do you see what they said? Nothing that they say says that it's a possibility at all. I mean, did you hear that last line, Mr. Bertolino? Nothing that we've seen says that's a possibility at all.
What he said was he may have said it in passing, and then he said, I don't know. That's what he said, Ashleigh. I'll take the apology.
No, he said it's not a possibility at all.
No, he didn't say that. Not with
Brian Entin, did he say? Yeah, I think we should get Brian Entin, and he conducted the interview. He sent us the tape. We've now played it twice. Go ahead, Brian.
Well, I just had a quick question for Mr. Bertolino that I was thinking about. I mean, if he was at home watching the news all week and hearing the police say that they had eyes on Brian, and the Laundries were watching the news or were hearing from Mr. Bertolino that the police were saying that, but if they were worried about Brian and he was missing and, you know, they wanted him to be found, like, wouldn't you want to correct the record so that people would actually be looking for Brian?
So, Brian, we're not going to get to the bottom of this. You know, I'll get past the fact that Ashleigh won't concede that what was said out of Josh Taylor's own mouth was that I may have said it in passing and that he does not know. Let's move past that because the tape speaks for itself. What I will tell you, Brian, is we were not, at that moment, we were not concerned that Brian, you know, had hurt himself or wasn't coming home. You know, Chris and Roberta had indicated to me that Brian had gone out camping and hiking for multiple days, many, many times. He was a young man. They weren't concerned. They thought he was clearing the air, clearing his mind. It wasn't until we got the call on Friday that there was a tip he was seen in Tampa that we were concerned.
Then why did you report it to the FBI, Mr. Bertolino? If they thought he needed to clear his mind and he's an avid hiker and camper, why were you calling or talking to them on Monday night or Tuesday morning saying, yikes, he hasn't come home? Why is it an issue?
Ashleigh, nobody said, yikes, he hasn't come home, Ashleigh. So let's
Why would you report it to the FBI if he didn't come home, if he just needed to clear his mind?
Lose the word report. I was having conversations with the FBI a couple of times a day on those few days. What I said to you was, in my conversation with the FBI, either Monday night or Tuesday morning, I mentioned to the FBI that, by the way, Brian didn't come home. As part of that conversation, I was reminded today from the FBI. He said, yes, I remember distinctly because you said to me, would you come home with all those press in front of your house? Contacted the FBI, specifically reminded me of that
I want to keep you over the break. I'm losing commercial breaks, and it's a machine I can't stop. But I do want to ask you after the break about the Northport police saying that they lost him, that they just screwed up and they didn't see him leave to the reserve, which, you know, ended up with a dead man in the reserve. I want to get your reaction to that. We're back with Stephen P. Bertolino and Brian Entin after the break. All right, Mr. Bertolino, quick question. The police said that they lost your client. There was surveillance on him, and when he went off to the reserve, they didn't even notice the Mustang leaving. Does that mean that Brian Laundrie is dead because the police lost him, or is Brian Laundrie dead because Brian Laundrie did it to himself?
You know, Ashleigh, you can't blame the police. You can't blame the FBI. You can't blame the parents. I've had people blaming me for the last couple of weeks and specifically the last couple of days. You know, bottom line is we don't know the manner or cause of death of Brian. We can surmise, but let's take an hypothetical and say that Brian did, you know, take his own life. If that's the case, you know, that's on Brian.
Hey everybody, I'm just getting ready for live shots on NewsNation tonight. So I'll be on NewsNation at 9:30 in about 25 minutes on NewsNation Prime with Marnie, and then I'll be on with Banfield at 10 o'clock with kind of the latest updates from today. The biggest thing, I don't know if you guys have been following along much today, but probably the biggest, well, there's a few things. One of the biggest updates is from Josh Taylor with Northport PD. So many of us were questioning how and why the police chief on that Friday, in the beginning of all this, said that, sorry, there's someone outside my car. So, sorry, let me start over. I got distracted. So many of us were questioning when the police chief said that they had eyes on Brian Laundrie. And how did they know that? They were obviously mistaken. Why did the chief say that? I was actually the one to ask that in the press conference that Friday. He said, yes, we know where he is, but we're not going to tell the media. Well, today Josh Taylor said, I'm sorry, that was Friday, that on Wednesday, no, I'm sorry, the press conference was that Thursday. Gosh, I'm tired today. Today, Josh Taylor is saying that on Wednesday, that when the Mustang pulled into the Laundrie's house, they saw someone get out with a ball cap on, and that they assumed that it was Brian, but it turns out it was Roberta. And Josh Taylor is saying they made a mistake, that the officers thought it was Brian returning back to the Laundrie house, but it was actually Roberta. And so he's saying that is why at the press conference on Thursday, the chief said that they had eyes on Brian Laundrie and knew where he was, because they thought Roberta was Brian returning in the Mustang. So kind of an unexpected development today. I wasn't expecting him to explain that today that way, but that kind of came about this afternoon. So that was pretty interesting. The other thing is the Laundries we don't know where they are. They left yesterday morning at about 9 a.m., 9:30, and they haven't been back to the house. All Steve Bertolino will say is that they're grieving the loss of their son in private, that they're still in Florida, but we don't know where they are. So I've been meaning to go back and look through my video to see in regards to Northport police saying that they saw Roberta, but they thought it was Brian coming back that Wednesday in the Mustang. I'm going to go back and look through our video to see if we got Roberta getting out of the Mustang that day. I can't recall, but I'm going to have Luis look back through the video from that Wednesday. So just seeing what you guys have to say here. So we were in Northport today. We actually just drove, it's a really long day. We drove to Northport early this morning. We actually just drove back to Miami because Luis and I are actually going to go to Utah and Wyoming. We're going to leave tomorrow morning, early tomorrow morning. We're going to start off in Moab, and then we're going to work our way all the way up to where Gabby's body was discovered in Grand Teton, or near Grand Teton, near Jackson, Wyoming. So yeah, I'll be on NewsNation tonight, but tomorrow we're going to head up there. So if anyone has any ideas, obviously we have kind of a plan of people we want to talk to, especially in Moab, trying to find out more answers about what happened there. But if you guys have any ideas, please DM them to me, or if you know anyone that you think we should get in touch with while we're in Moab or in Utah or in Wyoming. We're going to leave tomorrow morning. So we're putting together a special for Thursday on NewsNation, kind of like a full timeline from the beginning of all of this starting to where we are now. And you guys know I've just been in Florida all this time, so for the whole thing in Northport. So we kind of came up with this idea to go to all the other places. So if you guys have any ideas of stuff you think hasn't been investigated enough up there by other journalists, please send them my way. No, we're going to fly to Salt Lake It was a little tricky because we kind of came up with this plan late, so there's not a ton of flights. We're going to fly to Salt Lake and then drive down to Moab and start in Moab and then work our way back up. Yeah, we're going to go to Mary Piglet's. Yeah, I'll go live a lot in Utah and Wyoming, and then we'll have kind of our big News Nation special on Thursday. So I'll keep you guys posted on all of that. We're still working out all the plans. So a lot of you are just now getting on asking what happened today. So I'll kind of recap for you. The biggest development I would say today was with Northport Police. You remember the first week when all of this started, when I got to Northport, on that Thursday, the chief had the press conference where he said, we know where Brian Laundrie is. We're not going to tell the media, but we know where he is. And he said that on Thursday, and then they said he was missing on Friday. So a lot of us have been questioning the police about, what went wrong? Why did the chief say that? So today, Josh Taylor, the PIO for Northport, said that the reason the chief believed they knew where Brian was because on Wednesday, he says, officers were doing surveillance on the house and they saw the Roberta Laundrie come home, but they say Roberta had a cap on, and they say that they thought it was Brian returning home, but it was actually Roberta, and that is why they had all of that confusion. So that was kind of the big thing today. Also new today from Bertolino, we know that the Laundries are not at the house. They haven't been there since yesterday morning. He says that they are grieving at a different location in Florida. Yeah, we'll try to talk to them. I'm reading all your comments now about what you think we should do in Utah and Wyoming. We'll try to talk to the ranger. That's going to be tough because she's a federal employee and we haven't been able to get the body cam, but we'll definitely try for that. Yeah, I think it is already cold and snowing there. I was just looking at the weather. So some of you asked me, is Bertolino going to be back on Banfield? I haven't talked to Ashleigh today. I haven't seen her show rundown, so I'm not positive, but I don't think so. I think I would have heard if he was, but I'm not positive on that. Yeah, we're planning to go by the hotel in Salt Lake City. I think it's like I have a whole list of places, but that's on our list. The one right by the airport. I think it was like a Fairfield Inn, but I don't quote me on that. I have it on my list. I'll find out. A lot of you are asking about Bertolino and when he's going to be back on Banfield. I'll try to find out after this live. I'm not sure. Do I think all of this is completely strange? Yeah, there's been a lot of weird twists and turns. Again, I was not expecting the Northport PD development today. The fact that they said that they thought Roberta was Brian, and that's why they said they had eyes on Brian. That wasn't something I had heard rumblings of or anything. That was totally new to me today. So we don't know. We haven't been able to find out the name of the anthropologist that the bones went to. Some of you are asking that. We did, so some of you are asking about the gun found in Fort DeSoto. We did get the information on that today from the sheriff's office, but there's no connection right now to the Laundrie case. So it could be anything. So the hidden cameras have been taken down, at least some of them. When I was in Northport earlier, I found out that they started taking them down now. We don't know where the Laundries are. We have no idea. Do I really think the water bottle is Gabby's? So I have no idea. I'm not sure. I know they're investigating it. I confirmed with Northport Police that it's part of the investigation, but beyond that, I don't know. So some of you are asking what trip people are talking about. So I was explaining earlier, sorry, there's my computer. I'm using my computer for light. It's so dark out here in my car. So Luis and I are going to go tomorrow. We're going to leave early tomorrow morning. We're flying to Utah. We're going to go to Moab to sort of see what we can find there in terms of stuff that people haven't uncovered yet. And we're going to start in Moab, and then we're going to work our way up into Grand Teton, like up near Jackson, Wyoming, in the area where Gabby's body was found. And we're going to be doing all of this because we're putting together a special that's going to air Thursday. And I'll have more details on it like as we get closer, and I'll go live when we get to Utah tomorrow. But that's kind of our plan right now. So I was saying earlier, if anyone has any good tips of stuff you've seen that you think we should look into in Moab especially, or really anywhere in that area, please DM me. Nothing new with the notebook. The latest we know about the notebook is that Police say that they're working on it and that they think it is salvageable, but we don't know what's inside the notebook. Can I interview the person who called 911? We can try. The police report was redacted, so there's not a lot of information on that person, but that's someone on my list that we're going to try to find. So I'm going to get off here just because we're going to be on NewsNation in 10 minutes, so I have to get ready. But I'll see you on NewsNation in 10 minutes, so it'll be like 9:30 Eastern, and then I'll be on Banfield at 10 o'clock. And then tomorrow night, I probably won't be on just because we land in Utah like around noon, and then we have to drive to Moab. So, but I'll try to update you guys on Twitter. And just send me anything, if you don't mind, that you see. Yeah, we're planning on going to the Moonflower, the restaurant. Yep. So again, if any of you live near Grand Teton, where Gabby's body was discovered, or in Moab and have information, please DM me. Yeah, we'll be in Moab tomorrow. Again, we'll be there around, assuming our flight's on time and everything, we should be getting there in the afternoon because we land in Salt Lake. I need to look at the itinerary, but I think around like 10 or 11, and then we're going to drive to Moab. So, okay, I got to get off because I'm going to be on NewsNation soon, but I'll talk to you guys later. All right, bye.
Brian, good evening. I understand that Chris and Roberta Laundrie have now left their home. What can you tell us about why they left and where they went?
Yeah, so this is really the first time this has happened since this all unfolded, where they've just left the house for a long period of time. It was yesterday morning that they left. Roberta had a backpack. We saw Chris put some boxes into his truck. Early yesterday morning, they were gone, and they still haven't been back to the house. We don't know where they are, but according to the Laundrie Family Attorney, Stephen Bertolino, he says that they are someplace in Florida away from the house, grieving their son right now.
Brian, the autopsy for Brian Laundrie was inconclusive, as you know. Now what happens?
So inconclusive as of now, because it was just skeletal remains. The medical examiner was not able to come up with a cause of death, which is why now the bones have been sent to an anthropologist, someone who specializes in this, who can study the bones, who hopefully will be able to come up with something. Police told me that they feel that there likely will eventually be a cause of death announced, but at this point, we're not sure.
Brian, Northport police have come out. I know you've been in touch with them over the last few days to clarify some details of the timeline of events that not only led to Gabby's disappearance, but also Brian's disappearance. What have they shared, and did that help us better understand what has happened?
So this was probably the most interesting development of the day, Marnie. You remember the first week that all of this began when we were in Northport. The police chief and the police public information officer every day were saying that they knew where Brian Laundrie was, that they had eyes on him, but that they wouldn't tell us. Well, today, for the first time, Josh Taylor, the public information officer, clarified why he says they believed they had eyes on Brian when they actually didn't. He says the Wednesday of that week, Roberta Laundrie came home in the Mustang. She had a ball cap on, and Taylor says that the police doing surveillance on the house actually thought that Roberta was Brian. Reported back to the higher-ups that Brian got out of the Mustang and went into the house. Turns out it was actually Roberta. And Josh Taylor says that is the reason the chief said that they had eyes on Brian Laundrie, when we later learned they didn't know where Brian Laundrie was at all.
Right, so they may have never been able to determine exactly where he was. Brian, the other thing I understand, although the search at the reserve is now over, it's back open to the public is out there, and they found some things today. At least one person did.
Yeah, so there's been a lot of people who have gone out there and are sort of looking for things on their own. There was this one TikToker who was out there looking and actually yesterday, and discovered a water bottle that seems to match up with the water bottle that Gabby had. You've seen pictures of it in her YouTube videos and Instagram images. It's the same water bottle. We know that that TikToker took the water bottle to police, filled out a police report at the police station. Police now say it is part of the investigation. Whether or not it is the actual water bottle that belonged to Gabby's, at this point, we still don't know.
Interesting. And Brian, so many people want answers. They want justice for Gabby. They want to know what has happened. And I think in order to do that, we sort of have to walk back through everything we know, the timeline of events, the places that we know they visited. And you're going to be doing that over the next coming days.
Yeah, Marnie, we're going to be traveling. We're obviously still in Florida now. We're going to be traveling to Utah, to Moab, where so much of this unfolded, where you saw that body camera video. We'll be headed there tomorrow, and then we're going to work our way up to Grand Teton, trying to retrace some of these steps, see if we can learn any new information. I've obviously been getting so many tips on social media that we haven't really been able to look into because so much of the stuff is up there, and we've been in Florida. So we're going to spend the next several days there, and we'll put it all together. We're hoping to have a big special for you on Thursday night.
I'll be there for that, Brian, as you know, and hopefully we can uncover something that we didn't see previously that will help provide some answers in this case. Brian Entin live for us in Florida. Brian, good to see you. Thank you.
I was here when the police chief had the press conference and said, we have our eyes on Brian Laundrie. We know where he is, and we're not going to tell the media, but we know where he is. And then I think it was the next day that suddenly he was missing. I mean, how did that happen?
Well, I think you have a situation where you're working on intelligence, you're working on the best that you have. And I think what I'll tell you is that at no time did we make, we weren't lying. We weren't trying to say something to anybody. We were holding that press conference to be transparent about what was going on. I mean, and what would be in our benefit to say that if we thought it wasn't true? No investigation's perfect.
Was he under surveillance? I mean, did you have eyes on him?
What I'll say to that is that we were doing everything within the law that we could with the facts and the circumstances that were at that time.
Do you have any idea how he got away?
What I'll say is that that is a consistent, something that we're working to figure out. As far as how we got away, I don't even know how to answer that.
Well, what I mean is, if he was staying with his parents at the house, and I was out there were a lot of police outside the house a lot of the time.
Why didn't you see him?
I didn't see him, and I was out there. Police were out there. I mean, we've heard stories. Could he have gone out a back door? Could he have, run through a yard? I mean, do you have any idea?
Yeah, no. I think certainly what the family has told us is that he drove out to the park and walked out into the woods. I think that is certainly on the table.
Do you believe the family at this point? Is there reason to not believe them?
Yeah. At this point, everything that I've learned and we figured out is I don't know necessarily what to believe anymore. I think it's certainly possible that they're expressing what they know, but we'll see. I mean, this is an ongoing investigation that will continue to evolve. And, I think you saw yesterday the family was out there helping in the search. I think, it's a sign of them trying to work with investigators. So I hope that is, the beginning to maybe more of what they know.
Is there anything more you can share with the Mustang situation? Because so many people are confused that he drove in the Mustang and then his parents would go get the Mustang and bring it back without him. I mean, it doesn't really make sense in some ways.
No, I agree with that. I mean, we've said from the beginning, there's a lot of oddness here, a lot of things that just didn't make sense. I mean, if your son walks out there, now they're saying on a Monday, to report that on a Friday, and then be confused on what day that was, I mean, there's a lot of things that are odd there.
Based on what you do know, do police believe that Brian Laundrie is still alive?
It's possible. I certainly think that it would not surprise me if he is. It wouldn't surprise me if he's not.
Is it 50-50 in your mind? Do you have an inkling one way or the other?
I mean, I guess if we had to put odds on it, I would say that that's probably pretty close. I think I don't want to. We've gotten in a little bit of an issue by thinking we knew something, and I just don't know that it does any good to say, oh, I think he's alive or dead. I think it's certainly possible one way or the other.
So interesting to hear police say that right now. They think it's basically 50-50 whether or not Brian Laundrie is dead or alive. They were pretty forthcoming with many things in that interview. Other things they told us they couldn't talk about because of the FBI. And you have to imagine there's a lot that police know, obviously, that they're not putting out to the public. Marnie?
It struck me, Brian, he just said a lot of oddness. I mean, you can clearly tell in his in his hesitation to even answer your questions, he's thinking about what he can share, but clearly just a lot of holes that we all agree just don't add up at this point. So I wonder if the FBI right now is in control of the investigation. What role is Northport Police playing in all of this, if any?
Yeah, that's a good question. So the FBI is definitely in control. They are the lead agency. They're controlling everything. I asked that question today, and I was told that Northport PD does have a seat at the table. That's how they described it. And I can tell you, at least here in Northport, and with the search at the reserve, it is mostly Northport police officers who are out there actually conducting the search, obviously, though, under the command of the FBI.
What's happening with that search today? Were you able to get out there? Were they as busy as they were in the last day?
Not as busy as what we've seen in past days, at least from what we could see. I mean, you have to remember it's 24,000 acres, so it's hard to keep track of exactly what they're doing, but it does not appear there was as much going on there today. And we know that the Laundries, Christopher Laundrie, was not out at the reserve today.
The other thing, Brian, we keep hearing is these multiple sightings of Brian Laundrie, whether it's in North Carolina. Today, I read as far away as Montana. Are they saying anything about these sightings and how they're going about investigating them?
Well, Northport Police today said again that none of the sightings have been confirmed at all. We know that they are investigating because Dennis, the hiker, the one along the Appalachian Trail, told me yesterday that he had a 45-minute interview with the FBI in person. So they're obviously taking these situations seriously, but nothing confirmed so far.